G'day Rugby League fans, welcome along to episode 10 of the Mad Monday podcast for 2023. This potty, it's named All Aboard because holy cow, the Warriors bandwagon, she is filling up quick. Joining me this week, by the way, Chris Key here, aka Adam Whanua Keezy. On my right, Manaia Stewart, aka Tino Fa'asua Manaia.
That's it. Talofa Malo Lele. Welcome into myself. It's a real pleasure to be here. And it's a real pleasure to be wearing Warriors kit today. Everyone that sees you wearing it today is giving you a bit of street mana, aren't they?
They absolutely are. And speaking of street mana, no one gets more than Ben Hurley, a.k.a. Sandor Hurl.
I was going to go with Hurley Hancock.
Yep, I'd prefer that. I made that up on the spot because I realised I hadn't got you one. So, Ben, how are you today?
Great. It's great to be here. And yes, you're so right. I've been walking around the small Bay of Plenty town in which I live with this Warriors jersey on all morning, and people just shouting out, people jumping on bandwagon, people tooting their horns. Right?
We're tooting.
I'm getting hand gestures from cars that aren't offensive.
Oh man, that's a nice change.
I'm getting shuckers rather than the bird.
Yeah,
it's
nice.
just real nice. And one guy just got totally flustered. He goes, "Awesome game from the Vodaphones last night."
The Vodaphones.
They call them the Vodaphones. Not even their sponsor anymore.
No, they won, and yeah, the Wires. I love that. And I tell you what, nothing like a Warriors win to change your reputation around town, eh, Ben?
That's it, man. I'm basically the mayor now. Yeah.
And of course, we are doing this potty live from the Export Beer Garden studio, and we will have another commentary this coming weekend. It is Easter Sunday, Sky Sport 9, the Wars taking on the Knights, who we've put away once before. 8:15 kickoff, and it'll be Manaia Stewart, Tino Fa'asua Manaia teaming up with Ben Boyce. Haven't actually got him a nickname yet.
No, but it should be easy to shoehorn a Ben in there, I think.
Ben Boycelino.
Sure.
Madalino.
I'm looking forward to that one. Can we make it? What would that be? 4 on the trot. We've won 4 of the 5 thus far.
So that'll be if we because we are currently undefeated with Mad Monday NRL commentary, which is bloody exciting.
What about Bradman Boyce?
Bradman Boyce. I love it. Plus the Knights are hopefully going to get pumped from the Wars. So it's all coming up for Bradman Boyce. Absolutely love it. Now we are obviously fizzed up. Huge result last night with the Warriors getting one over the Sharks. So let's delve straight into it. The Warriors beating the Sharks at Shark Park, 32 points to 30.
Hot and fresh out the kitchen.
3-2-3-6. What's your favourite R. Kelly moment?
Egan rolling that body. Got
Josh Curran!
Absolute seams as the rain pours down at Shark Park. It was a lovely ball. The tacklers went low and he just stormed over them. He didn't give up and he grounded it. This should be a reasonably easy conversion for Shaun Johnson.
Well, in my excitement to congratulate Keezy on his team scoring, I think I've punched his front 2 teeth out, but it doesn't matter to Josh Curran because the headgear,
Look at this.
burrowed over the try line, and that
yeah, baby.
is an embarrassing way to lose if you're the Cronulla Sutherland Shire Sharks.
And of course, we put our $100 bonus bet on the Wires to win 12 and under.
Plus, I've got us 12 and under, and I did have Wade Egan to score.
Oh, you dirty dog. I told you not to.
Kombucha's on Di Henwood tonight, New Zealand.
Hold on.
Have your hands in the air.
Shaun Johnson has to drill this kick.
New Zealand, lend your energy
Shaun Johnson
to the spirit bomb that Shaun Johnson's conjuring up.
playing against his old club. He's back at his OG club. He steps in to kick it. It's over! It's over! It's over! It's over! It's over! Taking it out! We're going to have the field a short kick, however. The game's not over yet. There are 21 seconds. I'm okay. I'm hanging in there. I can barely watch this. Nico Hines, bananas. He has a 75% record. He's a damn good kicker. He's a damn good player. and it looks like half of his collar's fallen off as well.
Seriously, that plantar foot in soggy conditions, it's hard to get the distance.
I love your optimism, Keezy.
Yeah, nah.
But I think he's going to nail this. I've got a feeling about Nico Hines is a gun player who owns the gun moments. Don't put your hands up for Hinesy. Yeah, go into witty hands. And
He's pushed it! He's pushed it!
The Warriors win! The Warriors win the game! That is 4 from 4 under ACC commentary. That is 4 out of 5 in the NRL season.
Oh my goodness, that was just a small sample of the fizz that was actually happening less than 24 hours ago in this very studio. Ben Hurley, I know you weren't able to be here in person, but you did catch the commentary. You caught the game as well. Were you as ridiculously fizzed as myself, Manaia, and Di Henwood were?
I tell you what, I've been in Sydney all weekend, and I touched down back on terra firma on New Zealand soil just before kickoff. I watched the entire game, listened to the call. It was surprisingly and amazingly very, very similar to the week before, I thought.
It was.
Terrible start, awesome comeback. Obviously, the end was very, very different. It was a joy to watch. It was an absolute pleasure to see proper, and if I may coin a phrase, backbone. Real backbone.
That's a good saying, actually. I might latch on to that one. And the thing is, and you brought up a good point, it was similar to last week's one where you start shaky, that's fine, but at no point was I worried that we weren't able to come back. I mean, sure, when they opened the first 5 and the Sharks scored 2, and at one point we were down 20-0.
What about when we went into half-time, a man down and 20 points behind on the scoreboard?
Yeah, I mean, I was freaking out, and I was like, oh, God, the hot start. It was just a hot start. It's all over.
So the interesting thing for me is now we've got 4 or 5, as you mentioned, all 4 of them commentated by the ACC. Read into that what you will. But of those 4, I'm particularly impressed by the way that we've won them. So we won an absolute strangling against the Cows. That one was comprehensive.
Yes.
We won a gritty back and forth game against the Dogs. We now have a monster come from behind victory. So the Warriors are putting on all sorts of performances. Those are sort of the big 3 for me.
Well, we need a pile-on.
Yeah, I just want an ass kicker.
Yeah, we want a total pile-on. We want a 40-point absolute drubbing of the Knights next weekend.
A pylon and a golden point. Those are the 2 things that we've got left. So I feel I have not felt this positive about the team. Everybody keeps talking about how it's the best start since 2018, but I feel more positive.
It's better than that
this year than I did in 2018.
Because I believe Curran was at the helm that year, and it was great. But I was like, oh, the wheel's going to fall off at some point.
Yeah, Di made the point last week on the podcast that it was a similar start last year, but these just feel like different wins.
Yeah.
They feel like. And also the better teams that we're betting.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Dogs are pretty good this year.
The Cows.
The
Sharks are really good.
The Sharks are really, really good. These are, I think last we won a dodgy game against Canberra where we knocked out 9 of their 13 players.
Yes,
I think.
And 1 in Golden Point, I think.
Yeah.
Sean Johnson drop goal.
That's right. And, these are proper wins against good sides.
Yeah.
They certainly are. Now, if we look at the Sharks, they're a genuine premiership contender. They had Nico Wet Hair Hines back, and he was in top form. I think he had 80 Supercoach points by the time half-time rolled around, and I was like, gosh, we're in all sorts of trouble here. Every time they went mostly to the right, they seemed to find an overlap. So at any time, you'd see Will Kennedy float a skip pass out to Katoa, or the other side out to Mulitalo, or they seemed to be scoring at will. But something happened when Niu Kore got sent off, and shout out to Niu Kore for scoring the first try for the Waz. Short ball from Sean Johnson, what seems to be effective this year. But when he went off, we went into halftime. We were clearly pissed off. And for the entire 10 minutes that we didn't have him, we weren't holding our ground and waiting for him to come back. We were on the offensive. We scored a try and almost scored a second one as well.
Well, and it was an absolute crock of shit that they even binned him. They played about 5 tackles from when the incident happened to when they eventually blew the whistle. They came back. It was like the refs were waiting and giving the Sharks every opportunity to score a try. When they saw that they weren't going to be able to, they brought the play all the way back. I've never seen play be brought back that far.
No.
For a one-man hip drop, which I didn't know that you could do a one-on-one hip drop.
No, it's physically quite challenging.
It's very challenging, and it was very ineffective as well, wasn't it?
I think it's a judo throw.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Right.
And so, I mean, that was they did their best to stuff us. And I actually think that binning was why we got the make good call at the end. That final.
Dalia Whenua-Kane, who did a hip drop as well.
Yes.
Or do you mean when Josh Curran dived on the loose ball and then they knocked it on, we're offside or some crap.
Yes, that one.
That one, yeah. We got the penalty shot, so.
I feel like that's happened 2 weeks in a row as well. A bit of, referee karma, because that last try last week,
with old Adam Fanua-Blake running
with the shepherd.
Yeah.
I mean, a little bit dodgy, but also the Josh Addo-Carr try came off the back of a try that should have been ours.
Yeah.
Also, actually, on dodgy ref calls, we say, that last play involving Josh Curran that gave us that penalty, but when Sean Johnson kicked it and was supposed to put it out once we got that penalty, and then they jumped up in the air and managed to keep it in, Ronaldo Mulitalo, who was so involved in this game, his foot was on the line.
Yeah.
And they said play on. So that was actually a mistake going against us. So in the end, as you say, referee karma.
So what do you reckon turned it around for us? And I've got two theories. I think Ball Brothers, again,
Yes.
off the bench.
Yep, Jazz and Walker.
Fantastic. And I would just say something happened to Chance at half time, and he started just doing huge meters. He started, running the ball up and doing what the forward pack couldn't do in the first half.
Yeah, and this was something that I was trying to express last night, though. I had a massive head of steam up when I got onto the commentary.
No one noticed though, bro. Don't worry about it.
It's all right. You look like you were in a sort of K-hole with your head in your hands.
I've addressed it with Mike Lane this morning. We both know what happened. We know it won't happen again, and we've moved on. I was not rostered onto the commentary last night.
No, that's true. To be honest, it was Keezy's fault for making you put the headphones
Absolutely
on.
it was. He just about lost his front teeth for it as well, because I got very animated at one point and punched him in the mouth. But what I was trying to say last night was, obviously Chris trawls through Reece Walsh's Instagram posts like he's a hot ex-missus, and
It's so unhealthy.
he really wants her back. It's really
he's a hot
unhealthy.
ex-mister. There's no doubt
Oh,
about
he's
that.
definitely. He's still beautiful. He's still hot. But again, don't have a look at his stuff because you don't need him back. But we don't need him. He's not the kind of player that we
No.
need. We need a man at fullback, and that's what we've got in Chance Nickel-Klokstad. He is a genuine NRL caliber player. He's a defensive player. He's playing sort of in the mould of a Clint Gutherson this year.
Oh, yes.
He's been safe as
I like
houses.
that.
He doesn't knock the ball on. He makes tackles when they need to be made. And like you said, Ben, when the forwards are a little bit gassed, he's just like, bugger it, I'll put my hand up and I'll carve off 10, 15 metres. You'd never see Reece Walsh do that.
Well, it's classic Chance Nickel-Keezy, really. Like, there was a real defining moment for him in the game, which was 3 minutes to go.
Are you going to take every K syllable in the NRL?
I'm never cracking it. Probably going to steer it. No, there was 3 minutes to go. It was pissing with rain. I believe there was a bit of a razzle-dazzle throwing it around. It was the fifth for the Sharks, and we'd rushed up on Nico, so he didn't have the ball. They passed it across, and Will Kennedy put a grubber through. They had 4 chasers. We only had 2 guys. One of them, though, was Chance, who just dove on the ball, secured it, and I was just like, I had no worries at all that was going to be cleaned up because Chance Nickel-Keezy, he's just so safe, and it's literally just made it one less thing we have to worry about, Ben.
You're right. Can I just take playback a few metres
Yes,
and just say what an incredible feat it was for you to punch Keezy in the mouth to get past that schnoz. I mean,
Don't.
Yeah.
It's $5, Pugs. Where's Pugs?
It's it was to do with the angle. I sort of copped the bottom of the teeth.
you really went from low to high.
It was incredible, really. I went off for a short HIA check, but I was back.
Yeah, well, you've got to. Let me run through some names here. Tohu, Tamaire, Barnett, DWZ, they were all away for us in
Those are
this
big
game.
names
And those
too.
are big names for
Huge
us, I
names.
think. Particularly Tohu Harris. And I think a lot of us have forgotten that Dallin Watene-Zelezniak is a Warrior this year.
Well, he's also, exactly. He's the Marcelo clone on the other wing who's, runs hard and tackles hard. And then 2 massive signings, Tamaire and Mitch Barnett. That's huge for us to be able to get this result against such a good team.
Not guilty, Your Honour.
Yeah, what are you getting the ref's room number, mate?
Yeah, and this is what we've been saying, is that, like you were saying before, Ben, last year's wins didn't seem as convincing. This year? Sorry, I was steamed last night. They have been in the face of adversity, and they have been when we've been missing players. But it seems to me that it doesn't really matter who puts that jersey on. It's just it's a ethos thing. It's a vibe thing.
And I'll add to that. Oh, sorry, that was your missing list. I was going to add to the very much their list the try scoring machine that is Wade Egan.
4 tries in 4 games he's played this year. How the hell has he managed? And he's also, as we were touching on last night, he's added the Scucky no-look pass to his repertoire as well.
And last week, he was essentially brain dead on the field. So to come back and score again and have another monster game was fantastic.
I don't know what happened in that head clash that he had, but something triggered a Scucky no look in his brain. So I think the silver lining is he now has the Josh Schuster play in his bag.
Yeah.
He can do it.
Now, you guys are a little bit up with the sort of behind-the-scenes play more than me.
Oh, big time.
Why is Josh Curran still coming off the bench and not starting?
Well, that's the thing is he only came off the bench one game this year prior out of the 4 before this game.
Yeah.
And it's because our stocks are so full. Like, who are you going to take out for Josh Curran?
Yeah. I don't. He's obviously fallen out of favour. Andrew Webster said that he'd had a talk to him. There were like 3 things I think that he needed to work on. He'd been playing in the reserve grade over the last few weeks, but with Tohu Harrett and Barnett going down, they sort of had no choice but to bring him in. And he's been excellent. I don't know what it is that he needs to work on, because in the first half of last year he was in contention for Origin. Over the off season, I think he chinned a bloke at a bar in North Queensland. So
Yeah, that happens.
Oh, yeah, but
Who hasn't done that?
that's a hello in North Queensland.
that is the North Queensland kiss. Yeah. So I don't know whether that factors into it or what it is. But
Whatever's been happening, when he came on in the final 20, holy cow, he was instant impact. So I wrote down here, he came off the bench for the final 20, he scored a try, he put a massive shot on Mulitalo, he then chased a kick and then kneed Ronaldo Mulitalo in the ribs, which the whole of New Zealand was like, yes, boy. He then chased that loose ball, which resulted in our game-winning penalty.
Yeah.
That is impact. And if he is not at least on the bench again next week.
Yeah, I guess that's what I mean. He's great coming off the bench, but he definitely should be in the 18.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say, I think he was playing the 18th man role, but who are you going to take out? You've got the likes of Manata Niukore, you've got Barnett, as we said, who's maybe Sirenen's the weak spot where you could swap them out. Bailey
Niukise.
Niukore, sorry.
Niukise, you mean?
No, Manata Niukise. Oh my God, I'm writing that down. But there's so many. Jackson Ford, who's come out of nowhere. You've got amazing back rower stocks. Like, who are you? And then you've got the Bald brothers. Who are you taking out?
Oh, it's a great problem to have. I just want one more player to shave their head so that they can form the ultimate Doug trio. It's a Pokemon reference for those of you playing.
Oh, it's funny for me, Ben. Is that funny for you?
No.
Okay.
I think Lisa Narmal should come out of come out of retirement
Absolutely.
and come back into the side. That would really help.
That's bang on. Just on Ronaldo Mulitalo, someone asked me this morning, is he like a known sort of, does he get down and dirty and rile the opposition up? I was like, not really. Like, that's not a Ronaldo Mulitalo thing. It was really out of character that he was so fired up last night.
It was brilliant because it was, if you'd told me that it was Mulitalo and Ed Cossey were going to have this amazing beef, and I love the beef, by the way. This is why I love players like Luai, or Luai, I think it is now, and also Mulitalo. Is that
Because you're a grub?
No, is that I love it when players start some beef on the field, and it gives people a chance to.
Rivalry is fine.
Yeah.
Grubbiness is not.
No.
And
It's so entertaining.
Yeah, but you are a grub, Casey.
No, I'm not a grub. Excuse me. I am maybe, but the good thing about Mulitalo though is he scored 2 tries, but in between those he dropped 2 balls, let in 2 tries. He was having a shocker and an awesome game.
Well, yeah,
all at once.
I wouldn't call him a grub by any means.
No.
But he is polarising. I'm not sure why. Is he too handsome? What is it?
Well, he's handsome and he scores a lot of tries, and I think it's his celebrations. And then there was the whole yelling at us. So Cossey yelled at Teague Wilton, who was on the ground with his pants half. It was like, oh, it's great. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I liked it. I obviously love a little bit of back and forth, but it was just out of character for him. He's a Kiwi as well. I had to keep reminding people.
He's
one of ours.
Yeah, he is. And apparently lovely, quiet bloke, but you get him on the field and he turns into...
Well, there's something about that team. I've never been a Sharks fan. In fact, they're in my bottom 3 teams, and there's something about the culture that's always been in that it's pretty grubby.
It's an awful ground that they play at. Like
Shark Park. I really want to go there.
There's power lines at one end. They've been renovating that stand for what seems like 10 years now.
There's a swamp on the other end.
There's a swamp on one side, and on the other side looks like a university campus or something.
No. It's a hotel, isn't it?
It's a hotel, and then they're building a mall next to it.
Oh, great.
Shark Park, man. You won't even never have to leave.
Yeah.
Just spend your entire life there, 6 months of the year.
Yeah.
Huge shout out to Sean Johnson for, I think what's happened to him here is that he's no longer has to be the sole, like Reece Walsh was last year. It's not like, crap, give the ball to Johnson, do something, please. It's like everyone's doing something, and now you've got the space and time to actually control the back line, run the game for us, and he's looked absolutely brilliant.
I think there's 2 things on that. One is it's way easier to look good when you're on the back of a massive forward pack. We were talking about how our stocks are so deep now, like who do you take off to fit Curran on? So that's one thing. We don't drop the ball, knock the ball on. The second thing is, and it's the same thing with Wade Egan, I think, is that Andrew Webster's clearly gone to them and just said, just have a crack. Like, if you're like, we're not gonna play this slow, boring completion rate sort of style of footy. Get out there and have a crack. He's told Sean Johnson explicitly, I want you tackled like 3 or 4 times a half. Just get in there, get tackled, because it makes him engage the line and frees him to be a bit more of that sort of Sean Johnson of old. And it's the same thing with Wade Egan. You can tell that he's been told, go out there and have a crack. Like, if it doesn't come off, so be it. We don't want to die wondering.
But the way they're having a crack, though, isn't the really worrying, like chewing your nails, watching Adam Pompey throw a 50-50 offload. That doesn't happen anymore. It's set-piece plays, it's beautiful backline moves. And the only massive knock-on was the one, like the second play in the entire game. Neo Cordia dropped it, and the Sharks scored, and holy cow, my head was in my hands for that moment. But I just cannot believe. And also, shout out to Di Henwood. He promised his family he wouldn't go home hoarse last night. He specifically promised them he would come home with a voice, and he lost it. Probably worse than any of the other games as well. So, look, before we tie a knot in this one, is there anything else you guys would like to add?
Oh, I think we've covered it off. I think that we're going to go 5 of 6. I don't want to jinx it against the Knights this weekend.
Well, the Knights took Manly all the way, 32 all, as we'll get into shortly.
I know, we will. It wasn't convincing for me.
No, and Manly's defense isn't the best. Ben Hurley, anything you'd like to add?
It's just nice that we're a full sort of Māori team on here today. We got rid of the Pākehā.
Yeah.
I count Chris Key. I am Ngāti Porou, actually. I don't sound Māori,
your
but
name doesn't define
I'm
your
also Ngāti
ethnicity.
Porou.
Are you?
Yeah, see?
Actual?
Yeah.
Are you Kaumatua?
I'm not a Kaumatua just yet, thank you. Let's move on. All right? Shout out to the white pig, Di Henwood.
Let's definitely move on to what wasn't... Well, to be fair, it was a brilliant round 5 weekend of footy. But the stonker of the round... It was the Manly Seagulls drawing with the Newcastle Knights 32 points to 32.
Daly Cherry Evans for Tom Drabojevic. Kyo Weeks goes long, quick hands to Alangi. Brad Parker 2-on-1. Ruben Garrick for the corner and for the front. Ruben Garrick. Last play. Crossland. It'll be a kick and hope across the ground. Out towards Dom Young. Flies high and gets there. Dominic Young gets 4 for the day. Remember, Newcastle haven't won back-to-back games since the first 2 rounds last year. They're trying to find the front here. Lockie Miller has pulled it across the face. Hastings positions himself. Jackson Hastings, the kick deflected. Daly Cherry Evans waits on the right. Here he is again. Their conductor, their match winner, driving it to the left on this occasion. And for the first time since round 3, 2020, we have an NRL draw.
Yes, it was a draw. To be honest, this would have ruined a lot of multis, as would have the Warriors win over the Sharks, which makes me very happy. But I would have thought on paper, Ben, I don't know how many Manly games you've watched this year, but Manly with Tom in that back line and Schuster, although Schuster was out this week, they have been clicking and putting on so many points. I thought the Knights wouldn't have a hope in hell of managing to keep up with them.
Now, so this was a bit of a weird game. It was certainly a stonker. It was very high scoring. It was out in some weird stadium, like in sort of northwest Sydney.
Where about Wooga or something? I can't remember where it was. I'll have a look.
Mudgee?
Yeah, Mudgee, I think it was. Yeah. So, because as I said, I was in Sydney over the weekend, and this was the one I could have gone to because it was Saturday afternoon. It would have been done by the time I had I was at the Sydney Comedy Store, as it happens, and I was going to go to this, but it was freaking miles away, and it did look like a bit of a country stadium.
Yeah.
Had long grass. It was wet on Saturday as well, and it had a little bit of a feel of country footy.
Yes, and well, funny you mentioned the grass, because I was looking when one of the tries that was scored, they had clearly just left the pads on the post and mowed around it, because the grass out of the bottom of the pads was way longer than the rest of the grass. I love these country games, so I think we should do a little bit more of it. Couple of points on this game for me. One, Haumole Olakau'atu is a one-man stonker. Like, he is excellent. He got binned for his efforts, but he's going to be playing Origin if he elects to this year, I would say. The other thing is, the commentator, Matt Russell, the Love Muscle. I'm a big fan of Matty Russell. He is an NRL encyclopedia. And he just, I don't know, sometimes with Dan Ganane and Andrew Voss, you can feel a little bit agitated. But with Matt Russell, he's like, oh, this is a pleasant experience, isn't it? We're just watching rugby league together.
Oh, right. Okay.
We love it. He's a great guy. Greg Marju, who's on the Knights, he was looking quite good as well. You'll remember he was on the Titans last year, and he obliterated us. I think he ran in like 4 or 5 tries against us last year.
The thing with Maju, and he's an absolute weapon. Apparently, there was actually Matt Russell was saying he
love
still
muscle.
holds all the love muscle. He still holds all the records for bench press and all those things at the Titans. Greg Maju, this is a dude they've got on the wing.
Yeah.
However, and I think the very first try Manly scored was just straight up Greg Maju not knowing how to defend. He jammed in super early and left an easy overlap and was just sort of standing in no man's land. And I was like, that is why he doesn't. That's why the Titans didn't want him, because holy cow, he's mean on offense, but he is such a liability on defense.
He could be a super coach sleeper, which we might talk about later on.
But he should also be one of the best wingers in the whole friggin' game. He could average 200 metres and 50 tackle breaks every single game.
Sort of a Brian To'o type operator, isn't he?
He is. He's the poor man's Brian To'o. But Dom
Paul
Young,
Munner's Brian To'o. Sorry, Karen.
the poor Munner, Adam Poor Munner, our producer. It's a real deep cut there from Manaia. I like it. Dom Young, Ben. He's from Huddersfield, and he scored 4 tries after being dropped from the side after signing with the Roosters. This dude, he's 6'6", he's 110 kgs. He seems to be a bit of a freak of nature.
Yeah, I guess they just kick for his wing all the time, and he's there. You
Yeah.
know, it's
And he's 20 or something, 21.
it's what we used to do with Manu, basically.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
except
absolutely.
he's got
Fuzzy
probably got like 7 or 8 inches on Manu. What I was going to say about this game is there was a real weird moment at the start of Golden Point where DCE was on about the 35, and instead of going
And
for the
did it,
field
yeah.
goal, he kicked for the corner.
That's both halves, because obviously no Ponga for the Knights. I think was it Phoenix Crosland. I can't remember who the other half is for the Knights, but they were both doing the same thing. Like, have a crack, man.
Yeah.
But they were too scared to miss and then give the other team possession or a 7 tackle set, obviously.
Yeah.
But it was weird to see, wasn't it?
Well, this, for me, sometimes Golden Point can be lame. Like, often it's the most exciting way to finish a rugby league game, but it can also devolve into just this shootout.
a force back game.
A force back game
Yeah.
where there's like 6, after like the 3rd missed attempt at a drop goal, it's just kind of, it loses
Yeah.
a bit of fizz, doesn't it?
Yeah, if I wanted to see teams kick it back and forward to one another, I'd watch a union.
Do you think that we should bring in a rule? I mean, they are exciting, aren't they, though, the old drop goals, but should we just make it Golden Point, it has to be a try?
And it doesn't finish until you score, like Quidditch. What do you reckon,
Quidditch?
Quidditch?
Do you reckon there's a lot of crossover between Harry Potter fans and rugby league fans on this podcast, listeners?
Do you reckon Peter Volandis is across the rule set in
Yeah.
Quidditch?
Peter Volandis, well, considering he can't even pronounce Josh Aloia's name, or wasn't he the guy that forgot what the Seagulls were called? Or was that the old?
They
That might have
called
been.
Josh Aloia Oshay Ole.
I love how he stuffed up the word Josh.
Isn't there a real flaw in the rules of Quidditch? So if you catch the golden snitch,
You get 150 points and the game ends.
Yeah. So isn't
What
it?
if you're behind by 151?
Well, this is a famous moment in the 4th book. Victor Crumb caught it when they were 160 down because he knew this is the closest they'd ever get. And I actually disagreed with that. It's like, actually?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Score another 10 points and then catch the snitch.
All right, well, we'll save this for the ACC's Quidditch podcast out every Friday with myself, Manaia Stewart, and Ben Hurley.
Every Friday, there's only so many games.
Yeah, no, there's only about
It's
6.
finite.
Sunday. It's going to be sad Sunday.
We're doing alternative commentary for Hufflepuff's next game against Slytherin, though, so that's bloody exciting. Big shout out to Jake Trebojevic. 90 minutes at prop in the middle.
Thumbs up. Big thumbs up. to
Huge
Jake.
thumbs up afterwards. Nobody gets past this man. He is like the Josh Kronfeld of rugby league.
Rugby league.
He is a tackling machine. He just, as you say, Manaia, munts around in the middle.
That's exactly what he does, yeah.
He runs it. His shirt's always up over his puku slightly. He's always just like in the thick of everything, getting his hands dirty, and I love that.
He really is quite mobile for a. He kind of reminds me of a Slater. You know,
Billy?
Kelly.
like a woodlouse.
Oh, really? Right, like
Because
the
he's,
insect.
he's got a low center of gravity, and he just kind of
He
scuttles.
scurries around
Yeah.
everywhere. Yeah.
I don't know that he's that big. I mean, they often play him out of position at prop, but I think it's just because, like you said, you've got to have him munting around in the middle.
Yeah.
He's a good ball player as well. Seems like a great bloke, great leader.
Oh, he'd be good. Their whole Trebojevic family, I've got a lot of time for them, even though I've never met any of them, and I don't really know anything about
I
them.
don't trust Ben.
You don't trust Ben
No,
Trebojevic?
No, I don't trust Ben
There's
at all.
one. It's like the Barretts. There's one like secret one they don't let out of the basement.
Yeah, true that.
He's really into chess.
and Quidditch.
He's the Tommy Turbo of chess. Hey, there's nothing wrong with Quidditch at all. That wraps things up for the stonk of the round with Manly and the Newcastle Knights drawing 32-all. We're going to take a quick break here on the Mad Monday podcast. When we return, the other talking points of the round and also the TAB Good Punt, which the $100 bonus bet is in the hands of Manaia. So we'll get into that after a quick break.
Not guilty, Your Honour.
Yeah, what are you getting the ref's room number, mate?
Welcome back to the Mad Monday podcast live from the Export Beer Garden studio, even though podcasts are never live. They're literally pre-recorded every single time. But you've got Chris, Manaia Stewart and Ben Hurley here, and we're going to rip into the rest of the talking points from round 5 of the NRL. And we will begin with a game that happened after the Warriors' victory over the Sharks. It was Ben Hurley, your third favourite team, the Cowboys, going head-to-head with the Bulldogs. And it was a mini stonker. It fell a bit flat for the first 60, but the final 20, holy cow, that was good watching.
Yeah, they're my second favourite team. I don't know what's the other one.
So hang on. So you got the Warriors beneath the Cows because it's Titans, obviously, then Cowboys.
I'm not enjoying this. The Cows, I'm a bit worried about them because they keep just losing. And it's probably, I think the karma aspect of the NRL is amazing. Last year they won so many tight games and they were 1 point ahead, and it kind of jettisoned them into the top 4.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And this year they just seem to be slightly losing a lot of games, and by not by doing that much wrong.
Yeah.
But it's happened again, and my concern is that they're going to hemorrhage some players at the end of the year. They seem to be on a very similar trajectory to the Raiders, who are terrible, by the way.
They are absolutely terrible.
So that's my concern.
This game to me was very blurry because I was absolutely hammered by the time I got home.
But you still wrote some notes down?
It looked to me like watching.
From what I could make out.
From what I could make out, it was like watching your two younger siblings fight, because the Warriors beat both these teams.
Yeah.
So I had this smug feeling of like, whichever one of you two losers wins this, you still suck because we beat both of yous.
That was the other thing I thought, is the Matt Burton wobbly bomb is so predictable, and I don't reckon it's that effective. And it's all they do.
Well, actually,
they wobbly bomb.
They're the wobbly bomb. You did right. Matt Burton, he put up an absolute skyrocket of a wobbly bomb, and Tom Chester, the fullback for the Cowboys, he diffused it really well. However, the thing that I thought was the most ridiculous of this whole game was Matt Burton's 2-point field goal it was a 2-pointer. It was 40 yards back. It was from the sideline. He picked it up out of dummy, didn't he? And then just straight away hoofed it over. I can't remember, actually.
I mean, I didn't. I had one eye shut at this point. But for me, though, Matt Burton, I saw someone on a deep, dark Reddit thread call him a hole-running centre with a good boot. And I was like, that is a very accurate description of him. I don't know if he's a playmaking 5'8".
No, well, he was an absolute weapon at Penrith at playing centre, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah, he seems a bit big to be a half and not overly quick.
Nah,
well, he's
laterally.
very similar to Adam Dewey at the Tigers. They've just got this massive unit with a sweet running game and a big hoof. And both of them haven't really been firing, although I think the last couple of games, Matt Burton's gone, okay, maybe I should actually run. Remember, he used to have an amazing left foot step.
Yeah, again, he's a whole running centre with a massive bomb, and that's about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as you say, who cares? The Dogs won by 1 point over the Cowboys. Both of them suck. The Warriors will give both of them a hiding. I don't really give a shit.
And wobbly bomb sounds like a nickname you'd give a slightly Rubenesque friend.
What's Rubenesque?
Chubby.
Wobbly bomb. Oh, here comes old wobbly bomb.
Fresh off Quidditch practice.
We're going to move on to the next talking point of the round, which is, holy cow, the Tigers are terrible, like really terrible, and the Raiders are pretty darn bad as well. Have we found our two worst teams? Ben, because you really hate the look of the Raiders at the moment, don't you?
Yes, I really love the Raiders, and on paper they're still a really good side, but I reckon when you see Sticky interviewed, the light has gone out in his eyes.
You reckon?
He has such contempt for the media. He has such contempt for every aspect of the NRL, I think, and I think it's coming across in his players who, Jack Whiten's trying to leave.
Wow, yeah.
He's
testing free agency.
Yeah, he's putting himself on the on the free market. I think he wants to leave.
Yeah, fair enough. I think it's a case of just all their big names are just aging, like Big Papa and
I think we
Whitehead.
I think we fall into this trap of comparing them to when they made the grand final. Was that 3 years ago?
3 years ago,
That team, they had Hodgson, who was like leading the league in one-on-one strips there. Big Johnny Batman. And all these other Poms are in the team as well. This team at the moment is completely different.
Yeah, right. They had a bit of backbone, just to coin that phrase again.
And some throbbers.
Yeah. But they were English, just, They just opened a shipping container and all these poms popped out.
Yeah.
And
Sprayed them down for lice and insects.
yeah, pretty much. Looked at their teeth; they were good.
It was like a scene out of Peaky Blinders. They all stepped out with cheese cutters on and waistcoats and then got to work. But yeah, I personally, I mean, the Raiders, they don't have a fullback. They've got Sebastian Chris filling in for them. They're just, Rapan has always been bloody stood down for games as well. Big Papa's been out, so they've just been all over the place. And unfortunately, I don't think Joey Tapine is going to have as big a season, at least so far, as I thought he was going to.
That was my point as well. Yeah, it was his 200th game or something, and he didn't have a great one.
No, well,
by any means. He can have off days.
He can.
He's
a smaller prop as well.
Yeah.
But I've dropped him in both my super coach and my fantasy team as well. But the story of the game for me was Jamin Salmon scored for Penrith against the Canberra Raiders, and as he got up, he yelled out "weak gutted dog" at the crowd. Tremendous.
I absolutely love that, of course. If you don't know, Ricky Stewart, what did Jaden Salmon even do? I think he kicked out or kicked someone in the head on accident.
Yeah, but apparently in the age grade, when he was coming through the ranks, he abused some family member of Sticky's.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Also,
so they called him a weak gutted dog.
Yeah, makes sense now. On terrible teams, we'll just quickly touch on the Tigers again. They got absolutely thrashed 46-12 by the Broncos. Really dominated, and they've honestly got absolutely nothing. So much so that Tim Sheens and Benji, who are at the helm of this team, afterwards he was like, hopefully we can get the 2 points from the bye round that's coming up. They literally had no faith in their team.
I didn't realise this, but there's massive backlash to the Tim Sheens appointment.
Of himself?
From the Tigers fans.
Yeah.
And I didn't really realise. I thought he was going to be the great saviour.
Nah, he thought he was going to.
Yeah. They should have just made Benji the coach.
Well, they commissioned him to do an investigation into the club and find what they need to do to go forward. And what he found was he should put himself in as coach. And then eventually put Benji in.
To be fair, if you made me do a bit of a,
I know,
audit on the club, the same result would have happened.
That's exactly how you ended up.
You're going to need me and Benji.
That's how you ended up on this podcast.
You audited the Big Show, didn't you?
Yeah.
I sure did. And I tell you what, she's clicking now, fellas.
Brandon Wakeham, every now and then when you're looking at watching the Tigers play, which I try to avoid where possible, every now and then he looks a bit like Benji. He just looks like him standing in that jersey.
Like a double take?
Yeah, until you watch him play and then you're like, oh, he's okay, but he's no 05 Benji. And to be honest, I think they're in such disarray, the Tigers, it would take that kind of player again to make them watchable, I think. Dewey doesn't quite do it for me. They got Papali'i in their team as well.
Yeah, he's just not, he doesn't look like a shell of his former self.
Api Coruscant.
Yeah, all of them.
But again, Brooks wants to leave.
Yeah. Well,
Doesn't he?
I think
he's been dicked around for years there.
But he's been on $1 million.
I know, but they play him, then they don't play him, then they bin it.
He's been the scapegoat.
Yeah, they bag him for all of their issues.
But just quickly on the Broncos, I mean, I don't want to just keep beating this drum, but holy cow, Reece Walsh looks amazing, as we've said.
Not a drum you've been beating by the sounds of it. Your erect penis is what I was referring to there.
Yeah, it's more of a clarinet. Wow. Reece Walsh but he's the kind of fullback that makes a good side better. He doesn't make a bad side better, which Chance does do. So I'm happy that he's at the Broncos. I'm happy that he's happy with his new family over there. Good for him.
Look, you're better off without him, man.
Thanks,
What's
man.
that noise, Casey?
What is it? Can you knock that off?
Can you stop
There's
that?
3 other men in the room.
Actually, this will clear everything from my head. Payne Haas has been an absolute weapon.
Yeah.
Holy cow. So I didn't realise this, but Payne Haas is doing Ramadan at the moment.
Is he?
Yes.
Okay.
What?
So he does this every year. I didn't realise. So I'm not an expert on the religion, but it means no eating and drinking during sunlight hours.
Yeah, that's water
good.
as well.
That's water. Yeah. So he is literally playing out of his skin. I've never seen him play this well.
Yeah.
And he's currently fasting and stuff. So.
Yeah, he's being sustained exclusively by mana, and it's powerful to watch. He's been on form. Like, it was a slow start to the season for Payne Haas, by Payne Haas's standards. But this team is so good, so stacked this year, it's very hard to pick a try scorer. I mean, there were plenty of them on the weekend, but when I was going through my TAB app, trying to get on one, like the Selwyn Cobbo, do you get on Katoni Staggs?
Even Jesse Arthurs.
Do you get on Jesse Arthurs?
Obviously, Reece. I reckon
Jordan Ricky scored twice.
He scored twice. You got Capewell scoring as well.
Yeah.
Ezra Mam.
So they're a phenomenal team, and I think that people were picking them to be top 8 this year. I mean, they're leading the league at the moment.
They're undefeated.
Top 4 does not sound ridiculous for that team at all.
Here's a question for you, Ben, just quickly. Broncos, are they for real? Are they going to be in the grand final?
It's a great question. It's a huge call at this point, and bear in mind
Someone
that,
might say it's a hospital pass.
yeah, bear in mind after 5 rounds of tipping, I've correctly tipped 13 games.
Wow, so a 13 out of 40?
So yeah, how many games around? 8.
8.
8, yeah. 13 out of 40. So don't ask me my opinion because I will be wrong.
You should do an NRL podcast. We all should, really. That pretty much wraps things up. Are the Broncos for real? I think at this stage, yes,
Yeah.
although tiny bit shaky on that. Are the Tigers and the Raiders terrible? Yes, they are.
Correct.
Now, final talking point of the round. The Dolphins, one of the most amazing starts in an NRL club's history. Obviously, they've been around a long time in the lower grades, but Wayne Bennett, he was the magic man. He had them firing on all cylinders. They won their opening 3 or 4 games, I think it was, but they got thrashed by the Dragons, 38 points to 12. Manaia,
Yep.
was it a facade? Is it all done and dusted for the Dolphins?
It wasn't a facade. It's not all done and dusted. But what I will say is that Wayne Bennett, there's a reason he's one of the handful of super coaches that there've ever been in the NRL. He gets the most out of his players. And so this team has been playing as well as they possibly could have, and it took that to get those first 3 wins. What I'm saying is they don't have a lot of leeway, a lot of margin for error. If they drop just 5%, 10%, they lose Felicia Kafusi for a few weeks. They lose a few other players. Now all of a sudden it gets really tough for them. The Warriors have been in this situation for years. Whenever we go on a winning streak of 3 games or so, everyone's like, oh, the Warriors sorted. It's like, if they can keep everyone on the park for a full 16-week stretch, yes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So that's exactly what's happening at the Dolphins. They have been playing as well as they possibly could, and that's enough to go on a winning streak. But they don't have the room, the wiggle room, to lose a couple of players and lose a bit of fizz. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's over. I think they'll come right, but there's some depth issues at the Dolphins, I think. They could
Yeah.
do with Jack White, and I'll tell you that.
We're getting pumped 38-12 just by the Dragons of all people who, I mean, they've been pretty shocking to start the season. In fact, last week, I believe the Dragons got absolutely pumped 40-8 by the Sharks.
I picked them for my wooden spooner this year.
Right. Actually, who are you picking, Ben, for Wooden Spoon this year?
Don't ask me. Now, what I was going to say was...
Who would you pick, man?
I'm-
And they finished top 6.
I'm picking Penrith to Wooden Spoon. Now, no, look, I think the Dolphins. This is a weird result because they won their first 3 games. They lost to the Broncos, which is understandable, and it wasn't a blowout.
Ah, great game.
It was a really good game. So this is a strange result. I don't know. I think maybe is it that the average age of a Dolphins player is 47 years old?
Yeah. What's the average age of a dolphin?
I don't know. How long do dolphins live?
Be younger than that, wouldn't it?
Average age of dolphin.
I see they released an orca from a place in Miami, and it was in captivity for 50 years. They guessed that it was 57 years old, the orca.
Well, orcas can live between 50 and 90. A striped dolphin between 55 and 60. A short-finned pilot whale, 45 years, or a pantropical spotted dolphin, only 40.
Yeah, well, unfortunately for a Redcliffe dolphin, it's probably around the 30 mark, and I think what you were saying before,
Yeah.
Ben, they've got a few too many players approaching that mark, don't they?
And they're the only NRL players that have sex for pleasure.
Is that right?
Did you know
Oh,
that?
yeah, no,
Yeah.
I didn't know that, yeah.
Yeah.
Just like how Daly Cherry Evans has the same amount of vertebrae in his neck as a normal person.
Is that right?
Yeah, I know,
Oh,
it's
right. But
7.
they're just- yeah.
Yeah.
But it's so that he can eat the branches from the
That's
trees,
right.
the taller
Yeah, yeah.
trees.
But-
eh?
longer.
But when he was born, he had to fall 3 meters
Yeah.
to the ground.
And then run across the plains of the
Yeah.
Serengeti in case a lion gets him. But I digress.
And he's balding.
Not a tiger, though. They wouldn't catch him.
Let's just all rip on Daly Cherry Evans for a wee bit here. This is a great way to finish the podcast. But before we do wrap things up completely, we are good friends at the TAB. They've given us weekly $100 bonus bets to put on this week. Manaia, you
Yep.
were in charge.
Yep.
Before we wrap things up, it
Yep.
is time for the TAB Good Punt.
TAB Good Punt. Good Punt. Good Punt. Good Punt.
I mean, sorry, just quickly, it was called Mad Monday's Mad Money, but that's all good.
Well, Mad Monday has to win enough punts for people to start pronouncing the name of the segment correctly. That's how,
right.
that's how the NRL works with
Oh,
Polynesian
yeah,
last
true.
names. It's a similar sort of thing. So we placed a bunch of bets over the week as the ACC on thanks to our partners at the TAB. Only one of them came in, and it was Warriors 1-12.
Because we were kicking around yesterday before the Warriors game. We were at the pub, me and I, and we were like, let's just put Sharks 13 plus happiness insurance on.
Yeah.
And we were convinced it was a great idea.
So
So glad we didn't.
the theory was
It's looking good for that.
Yeah, it was
40 minutes
So
there.
the theory was we were going to put a pillow down the back of our pants because the Sharks were about to give us a hiding, and we were trying to lessen that hiding a little bit by getting on Sharks 13+. We were talked out of it by the Warriors faithful who got on Facebook and said, no, get on Warriors 1-12. That's what we did. It came in. That's the only bet that came in last week. So the TAB kitty is sitting at $400. So I figure one bet won out of about 8 last week. Good enough for me. We're going heat check this week. I've put a $100 bonus bet for our friends at the TAB on the Storm v Roosters on Thursday night to go to Golden Point. Now that is paying $21. If that comes in, we win $2,100.
If that comes in, we are going to Magic Round. All of us.
Look, I looked at all of the rounds. Me and Adam sat in the office this morning and we looked at this Thursday game and we're like, I honestly can't pick between the Storm and the Roosters at the moment.
Because they're both not quite firing.
No.
Roosters, even though they've got all their stocks, although no Teddy.
Yeah.
The Storm are without a lot of players as well at the moment.
But Munster back.
But Munster is back. But Thursday night games, it's a bit dewy underfoot because it is a nighttime game. They tend to be, not as free-flowing and high-scoring as weekend daylight games.
Yeah.
This could be a smart bet or it could just be really, really stupid.
I think we should swing for the fences, and that's why I've gone for a $21 roughie. That is our Golden Point good punt this week.
Adam Dewey.
That is why Ben is on the podcast.
Oh, I also wrote down
It was my contribution to that segment.
Boyce Hunt.
Boyce Hunt. There we
Good,
go.
yeah.
Bradman Boyce as well. I like both guys. Well done. Truly amazing stuff. Now, before we do wrap things up, do not forget this Easter Sunday, Sky Sport 9, the Warriors are taking on the Knights, who we already gave a hiding to. Manaia Stewart, a.k.a. Tino Fa'asua Manaia Aui, and Boyce Hunt.
That name needs another syllable in it.
And Boyce Hunt will be calling that game for you, 8:15, Sky Sport 9. Also, tomorrow, Supercoach Corner, a bonus podcast will come out detailing all of our exploits in the world of Supercoach. So until then,
I'm going to listen to that podcast and figure out how to log in.
good on you, Ben. He'll be rocketing up the rankings in no time.
I'm beating Tony Lyle in our Mad Monday League, and that's all.
Nice work, mate. Until next time, folks, go the Warriors.
Australia without rugby league. And Australia without rugby league is not Australia.